meditation and inner work and connecting with the universe, and all of these are afforded to those who don't have to worry about when their next meal is. Every pizza restaurant in Bangalore, every pizza place markets themselves as, hey, listen, we're a restaurant bringing the best of Italian flavors to you, right? That's the point. Whereas Prada is not saying, hey, come check out our line of Kolhapuri chappals and feel like a Kannada or Karnataka ruler for the day. It's not how the marketing is, right? The marketing is completely divorced. Historically, the British Empire is, arguably history's greatest empire in terms of sheer expanse of its territory, and India was known as the crown jewel of the British Empire. Historical sources suggest that there were tens of trillions of dollars looted and tens of millions of lives lost during the course of the British Raj in India. Now, anyone is familiar with the Maslow's pyramid, to essentially establish a hierarchy of basic human needs that each individual has. We have shelter, food, the basic needs kind of at the first rung, and we have self-actualization very much at the top. So in simple English, what this means is you cannot engage in spirituality if the stomach is empty, right? Meaning that things like meditation and inner work and connecting with the universe and all of these, and going on trips and finding yourself, all of these creature comforts and rampant materialism are afforded to those who don't have to worry about when their next meal is. People need to understand that psychology has proven that you are a product largely of your environment. And what that means is, of course, your immediate surroundings and the ecosystem in which you're raised by way of your peer group, your neighborhoods, your schools, your household, of course. But a huge component in this environment is also the media you consume and the influences that you are exposed to, right? Now, historically, especially in the West, everyone knows that Indians have, experienced a severe dearth of representation on the silver screen or in pop culture. When there is kind of a dearth of representation, right, especially in the West, it incentivizes, let's say, Indian diaspora communities in those Western countries to, in a way, distance themselves from Indian culture. And because it's quote-unquote seen as uncool, and as a result of which they've not built up their knowledge about any of the Indian garments or Indian traditions or Indian food, Indian footwear, etc., right? All of this has created an environment when now, as the West industrialized, their individuals started seeking needs that were on higher rungs of the Maslow pyramid, right? So obviously, as people in the West became more economically self-sufficient and stable, they started concerning themselves with spirituality, because I said the highest form is self-actualization, right? That's when, yoga and pilates largely started gaining popularity in the West. Pilates also, fun fact, has deeply yogic Hindu Indian origins, which they've completely erased. It's named after some guy called Joseph Pilates, I think. Same with yoga. It's a deep Hindu spiritual practice which nourishes the soul, body, and mind collectively. But in the West, it's kind of taught as this like fun workout. Now you have people in the West who are chasing self-actualization, get incentivized to study things like pranayama and meditation and breathing and yoga. And you have Indians who are fighting for survival on the back of hundreds of years of colonial exploitation, worried about when their next meal is, so they've got no time to actually, focus on self-actualization. Meaning even the freedom fighters who got the Indian subcontinent freedom from the British emulated this mindset. Even Gandhi, before he came back to India, was kind of, about this idea that an anglicized mind is an educated mind, suits are far better than Indian clothes, etc. Right? He's a UCL trained attorney. Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who was the founder of Pakistan, used to, drink champagne, have an Irish butler who would drive his Bentley, would wear tailored suits from Savile Row. Jawaharlal Nehru was similar. He also did not encourage Indians to eat with their hands, as is age-old Indian tradition. Encouraged people to eat using cutlery and silverware. Indian food also is a huge point of contention because it wasn't always widely popular. People in the West were often decried for being too smelly, right? Indians today are subject of crazy amounts of hate on the internet based in this notion that Indians smell bad because we have extremely aromatic food, I guess, right? You even see reality TV shows like the Kardashians, talking about how, oh my God, Indian food is so smelly, it's so disgusting. So in order to ascend and integrate well, you have to learn English and follow English customs, and you have no representation around you in pop culture or TV. Now, the second component is even those in the West who learn anything about India, or even those who are westernized, not just in the West, right? They learn about all the propaganda, right? Okay, England taught India the language. But that's also ironic because Indians get made fun of for how they speak English on the internet all the time. So that's pretty ironic. But B is another one is, oh yeah, and England gave India the rail system. This one is the most laughable because a simple Google search can tell you what a crowded public train in India looks like, right? To speak against this whitewashing of history in the UK is met with not just great skepticism, but also met with this anti-national fervor, right? Recently when you had Prince Harry and Princess Meghan make these comments about how England can move forward when it acknowledges the atrocities of its past.
There's no way that we can move forward unless we acknowledge the past.
You had Oxford professors, House of Commons MPs saying, oh, okay, they're anti-British and they want to erase our history, right? So people can have this mindset in the West that if you point out anything we did which was horrific back in the day, you hate us and want us to cease to exist, right? Now you get to a situation today when, like I said, even those who are educated and westernized, they learn about Indian culture and Hindu culture in this hippy-dippy way, right? Like they don't learn, for example, that we believe in the Para-Atman and a microcosm of the Para-Atman, aka the universe, is within us all and it's our life source, our prana, our chi, whatever you call it, which powers us and gives our nervous system the ability to be cognizant of our surroundings and experience this roller coaster called life. And based on your mood and context and awareness, each microcosm and each form of the avatar has different avatars and different versions. So it's not like we have multiple gods, they're just different versions and different energies of the same supreme being. It's also the only religion which prays to divine feminine avatars, and as a result of which we have multiple goddesses. All of this should be cause for celebration in the Western progressive mind, but all of it is instead taught and packaged as a bunch of hippy-dippy mumbo-jumbo. We just pray to half god, half elephant creatures and, you know, these half monkey gods and everything else, completely ignoring the metaphorical philosophy and symbolism behind these deep millennia-old stories, right? Our clothes, food, customs, nobody really knows about because they associate education and culture with being westernized. Like, you're just incentivized to study like engineering and medicine and the whole STEM fetishization in Indian education, I'm sure every Indian at least is familiar with, right? And it discourages people from studying subjects like art history and culture and fashion design and everything else, right? So when you are less likely to study those subjects, you're less likely to defend those subjects when culture and fashion and the arts come under attack. It's just that simple because you're ill-equipped to deal with it because you know none of it. And you're incentivized actually to distance yourselves from it, both from a cultural standpoint and economically, because those fields are not viewed as lucrative, unlike science and engineering. So you're completely, you know, incentivized to reject them wholeheartedly, both from a personal interest standpoint, because you're not represented and it's made fun of and you don't want to get mocked, and from an economic standpoint, because it doesn't garner in the same amounts of money as other fields, right? So all of this now creates an environment where, people who now control institutions and control the narrative can walk in and say, hey, I like that chai tea latte, I like naan bread, check out my cool new hip Prada footwear, check out my Scandinavian scarves. They can do that, right? Because like, who's gonna stop them? Very few Indians actually know all of these details. Hopefully this video changes things. Very few Indians are incentivized to go like, hey, you know what? Even though, we did go through a lot and we are poor, we still have an extremely rich culture and heritage, and you have no business stealing it and disrespecting it like this. In fact, you even see apology pieces saying, oh, India should not apologize for the West being so enterprising and stealing its... Look, this is a very disingenuous argument because I'll give you an example. I'm from southern India, a city called Bangalore to be precise. I've been to Italy extensively. I've had way better pizza and pasta in Bangalore, southern India than anywhere in Italy. It sounds funny, but it's actually the truth, right? Now, the difference is this. No, everyone in Bangalore should be allowed. There's about quality and enterprising nature as well, right? So if people in Italy are just organically opening up, Indian footwear stores and selling them better than us with, the facts and knowledge being presented and without it being experience. That's the point. Whereas Prada is not saying, hey, come check out our line of Kolhapuri chappals straight from royal India, right? And feel like a Karnataka ruler for the day and go straight back to Kolhapur in the vintage era. That's not how the marketing is, right? The marketing is completely divorced from all of those things. The word Kolhapur in Kannada is not even mentioned, and it's repackaged as European footwear. Same with the Scandinavian scarf. It's not like the marketing is, oh, come feel like an Indian princess in these garments, right? Those things would be okay, but that's not it. You're destroying the history and heritage of it. You're not using the words, and you're doing these cheap knockoffs, jacking up the prices, and you're rebranding it as Scandinavian scarves and Italian footwear. That is the part that's disrespectful, and is literally, like I said, if we started calling pizza cheese dosa.